Welcome to the Humanist community in Silicon Valley's Sunday Forum. My name is Matt Courtney, and I'm the recorder and a member of the board of the Humanist community. The Humanist community is a chapter of the American Humanist Association. Humanism is a reality-based philosophy of life that affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good. We value freedom, health, happiness, fairness, compassion, and using science and reason to acquire and apply knowledge. Let me admit some people. If these words describe your thinking, we invite you to become a member of the Humanist community if you have not already done so. Membership forms are available on our website at humanists.org. That's humanists plural. If you're listening for the first time, we welcome and invite you to continue listening to our weekly forums and other events. You can find all our events listed on the website, humanists.org. Please aid us in continuing to present these forums by donating to the Humanist community. You can find out how to donate to our organization on the website, humanists.org. Also, our treasurer, who I just recently admitted, now he has posted the address where you can send checks in the mail if you prefer to do that. I'm going to go ahead and quickly introduce our speaker. Paulo Chang is a manager of the Precinct Operations Outreach Training Division of Santa Clara Register of Voters. He will discuss changes in the electoral process and what special concerns he has and what steps are being taken in November election.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, but I am actually at a public location. I didn't realize when I accepted to present at 11, but I will actually have a function at 12 o'clock. So I am at the place of function a little bit early, but there's music and there's some people around me. I couldn't find a private space, so I apologize for that, but I'll present as best as possible. If you need me to repeat anything, just let me know and I'll repeat. Also, answer any questions you may have. I'll be here until 12 o'clock. Past that time, if you have any questions, please pass these questions to Matthew and everyone else. Sorry about that, guys. This is an airplane flying low. So anyways, I'll be presenting. And again, my name is Paulo Chang. I'm with the Register of Voters Santa Clara. Understand that this is the Silicon Valley chapter, Bay Area chapter. So if you have any questions specifically pertaining to Santa Clara County, I'll definitely be able to help you. And if not, I'll take that answer, put on a parking lot questions, and then bring you the answer early next week, okay? So I basically want to talk to you about what is new for the November election. And basically, everything that is new for the November election is basically for two reasons: COVID, and then for the importance of this election, obviously, because it's generating so much public interest, it's generating so much information that it's changing some things that we have to do and prepare for things that we didn't have to prepare in the past, okay? So then I want to start with, first of all, talk about what the whole state of California is doing, okay? So all of you should be California voters, and all of you throughout the state, you will be mailed a vote by mail ballot, okay? Those vote by mail ballots come to you in a packet. Inside the packet, you will have instructions on how to mark the ballot. Basically, for Santa Clara County now, you don't, used to be that you would connect two lines. Right now, you don't do that anymore. What you do now is we have these radio buttons that you must fill. And the thing is, not only do you must fill, but if you only fill a portion of it, as long as we see there's intent, this is how you want to vote, that is what's going to be selected for your ballot, okay? Now, all of you by now should have received your vote by mail ballots. We started mailing those out. Tomorrow is the 19th, 2 weeks ago already, okay? So you've received your ballots by now, and you can actually vote tonight or make your selections tonight and drop them in a ballot box nearby you, okay? And I'll tell you more about those ballot boxes to all of you in a few minutes. Now, your ballot must be returned by 8 o'clock on election night to us. By that, we mean it must be postmarked by 8 o'clock on election night, which means if you drop it off at a USPS mailbox, at 7:55. It will be postmarked 7:55, okay, or 8 o'clock of election night, and then they were brought up to us after election day. Now, many people think that if you actually don't drop your VPN ballots at by 8 o'clock in the office, it won't be counted, and that is not true. In the past, or prior to the COVID situation, post-election, we had 3 days to count the ballots. Okay, so anything that we received and we received up to 3 days, we would still review that ballot and count it if it was eligible. For this election, because again, COVID is all around, and because the governor has signed the executive order N6420, not only is the governor saying for every single county to mail ballots to every voter, but it is also giving us extra days to make sure we have the ability to count all those ballots. Okay, that really won't make a difference for us in Santa Clara County, and I'll tell you why in a few slides from now, okay? Just keep that in mind. Now, the one thing I want to remind you all is that just because we do have a pretty much mandatory vote by mail for every voter in California, does not mean that we don't have an in-person voting. In-person voting starts on October 31st, and that is a Saturday. So basically, in 2 weeks, okay? In 2 weeks, you'll be able to actually walk into one of 100 vote centers throughout the county. These vote centers and the drop boxes, there's also 100 of those. And then you have the USPS drop boxes throughout the county, okay? So you in fact have 200 official locations from the register of voters where you can drop off the ballots and we can go and vote in person. On top of that, you still have your regular USPS mailboxes. So as to the vote centers and for the mailboxes, you can find that information on our website. And we always want all voters to go to our website to check on those locations. Also on our website, we have an application in which you can, pretty much like a GPS application, in which you can decide what you want to do. Do you want to find a vote center or a drop box nearby where you live? Or do you want to find a vote center or a drop off nearby where you are? Okay, because the beauty of this system now is that, let's say you live in Gilroy, but you work in Palo Alto. You know, in the old days, you would have to rush all the way to, on a Tuesday election day, to Gilroy to be able to vote. Okay, but with all the traffic, you wouldn't make it on time unless you left early. But now you can actually vote anywhere throughout the county. And what that does is it allows you to go to any one of these 100 vote centers throughout the county and vote in person or drop a ballot. So if you are, for example, working in Palo Alto, so I'm just going to meet for a second. Okay, sorry about that. So if you do want to vote in Palo Alto, live in Gilroy, you can actually go to our application and enter find the site nearest to me, okay? And that application is going to give you the whichever location you're looking for to vote in person or to drop off the ballot, a VBM box, okay? So, and I'll tell you more about this in just a few seconds from now as well. Now, the biggest concern and the biggest reason why the state is asking everyone to vote from home is because of the COVID-19, okay? But as I said, we will have 100 vote centers for any one of you to vote. Now, when it comes to voting, you'll also be voting early. I'm sure many of you are aware that back in March 2020, so just a few months ago for the primary election, we actually had a model change. So the voting model changed from a polling place to a vote center model. And what that introduced was up to 11 days. This election, because of COVID, the governor pretty much said, you know what? The election code for this time around, the executive order says you can only, or you should only have a vote center for up to 4 days. 11 days is optional, okay? But 11 days, very few people actually coming to vote that early yet because people are not familiar yet with this new concept. Now, when you do come and vote in person, we are going to make sure that we have masks for everyone to use. And this is for both our co-workers, for the voters, and children coming with the voters, or family coming with the voters, friends coming to vote together. So we're going to have all the information. We're also going to have the self-serve hand sanitizer pumps. You're going to have the styluses, and we're going to have gloves, one-time gloves. Also on the way out, we're going to bring our own cardboard garbage containers so that the voters, can remove their masks, can remove their gloves, and throw them away. The other thing we're doing is just as when you go to, same thing when you go to a location for example, you go to Trader Joe's and they get, not Trader Joe's, but you go to some restaurants and you sign a receipt, they'll collect your pen, put it on a dirty container so they can clean it. We're going to be doing the same thing at the vote centers. We are also hiring a few extra people so that we could actually have more staff available at the vote centers so they can clean up after the voters vote at any one of the locations, any one of the surfaces. What this is also doing, okay, is that our vote centers, we try to get vote centers as big as 60 by 40, 60 by 60, or even bigger, which is a challenge because, again, when we look at a vote center, I need to make sure that vote centers are ADA compatible, plenty of parking, it's in an accessible area, and if they don't have a parking lot, again, they have to make sure to have some street parking available for everyone, but most of all, that it's in every area of the county, okay? So there's many areas usually where we can find a cluster of good sites, but because I need them throughout the county, I may have to go into a residential area, and in that residential area, the choices are not that big, okay? So it's whatever we can find, we find those vote centers. And why I'm telling you this is because, again, with the COVID, we have to provide social distancing, right? So what we're doing then is if you voted in March at one of our vote centers, things are close together just as they've always been. But for this time around, we are asking and we're moving the equipment 6 feet apart as much as possible, okay? We're also trying to limit the amount of people inside the vote center, which means all of you will see lines outside of the vote centers. And you'll be seeing lines because, you know, you go grocery shopping today, at grocery outlet, you're going to see a line because we have to form a line, okay? Not as much now, but that is something we want to do at the vote center. Also, this is why we're encouraging everyone to vote from home. You're going to have your VBM ballots. Please vote from home. That's the best thing you can do, okay? And that's that. Now, we're also going to provide these sanitizing, you know, solutions on the spray bottles, wipes, all those sort of things. We've trained our staff. Our staff actually, the poll workers, if you want to ever help us out, we pretty much train the leads for 5 days. We train the clerks for 2 days. Then anyone that is volunteering as a greeter, we give them a half-a-day class because each one of those roles, each one of those people will have different roles, and therefore they need to know a lot more to just enough to greet staff, to greet the voters and provide PPE, for example, okay? Right, so what I have here on the screen now, you can see, is just an early example of our vote center for now. And so what you're looking, in fact, is about a 37 by 37 vote center. It's not ideal to what we would like. We would like something more like at least longer, like a rectangle, so we can have a line of tables, line of people, and then have people processed from station 1, station 2, and station 3, and then exit. The one thing that is also, the reason why we don't show this slide to you is because notice the people waiting outside in line by the entrance, okay? So we're gonna have all the information. We're also gonna have a station with PPE outside. So we want everyone at the line outside to be informed. Please be sure to wear a mask, be sure to wear gloves, and this is what we're gonna ask you to do inside. Also inside, as much as possible, if the vote center has 2 entrances, then what we will do is we'll make sure that the voters come in from one door and exit the other door, okay? So we always want to keep the doors open, again, as possible, and keep minimize the cross contact of staff and voters, okay? Even our staff, they pretty much, when they sit on one chair, that's where they're supposed to be for the whole time, okay? There's no need for any one of them to actually interact, to be close to each other, because they're going to have their own assignments, and then if they do work on any machines, our staff is told to clean up their own equipment, okay? This is, again, to avoid contamination, or just to make sure that everybody has peace of mind regarding what they need to do and how to keep themselves safe. Now, the one thing that is important for voters, okay, and many voters sometimes don't do this, all right, and especially for this election, if you have any college students in your family, friends, relatives, please remind your college students and friends to, hey, did you move from home? Did you go to a campus outside of home, to a different county? Did you re-register that county or not? Please make sure that your address and your registration is still the same, okay, before you moved, or if you did move to the location, that's the address that your ballot is going to go to, okay? So the one important thing that we all need to know is that you always have to keep your information correct and updated. If voter Peter moves, okay, and doesn't tell us, we won't know that Peter moved, okay? So we need the voter to tell us that he moved. If someone changes their name, If someone changes their name and if someone actually changes address, you can actually correct that at the vote center. Okay, you vote, you correct, you'll still get your ballot, and then that change will take effect right away after the selection. Okay, but that's pretty much it. Now, if you see actually on bullet B, name change. I meant name change. You do have to re-register so that we can update your information, but you'll be able to get your ballot at the time when you get this. Now, the one thing that all of you voters also need to know is that every county, any state including, we send to everyone a county voter information guide. This is what we call the CVIG. I'm sure many of you already know about this. You should have received now in the mail this booklet, okay? Anywhere between 15, 20, 30 pages. It depends because depending where you live on your ballot type, you may have more things to vote compared to other voters in your neighborhood or your friends living across town or somewhere else, okay? So what you need to do then, so what you need to do is look in your mailbox for this county vote information guide, what we call the CVIG. Not only do you have all the information that's going to be on your ballot type, there's also going to be instructions on how you can drop your ballot at a ballot box, how you can drop it off in person at a vote center starting on the 31st of October, and where you can find these items. Okay, where you can find a list, and this is where you're going to find also the list for the drop box. Now, at the back of the booklet, you're also going to see your name and your information. So that is the booklet that you have. This booklet is sent to every voter in English. Any voter that asks for this booklet in another language, up to, we have now 13 languages, we'll send that to them separately. And that means this voter will get up to 2 ballots on that one time, okay? So these are just the basic things. I think most voters, they will let us know right away that they have moved, they'll update us, but sometimes people forget, okay? But as long as the information is the same, let's just say that if you voted in March and nothing has changed for you, you haven't moved, you haven't changed your names, you should get a ballot by now, and you can vote from home right away. What I'm showing you now is an actual card that we created with the community, all right? We do have several community groups that we meet with. One of them is our own coalition. We have what we call the VOC, and that stands for the Voter Education and Outreach Coalition. This is a coalition made of members of the different communities, okay? This information is available on our website. Any one of you can join us at any time, okay? It's not something that you necessarily have to come in every single month to attend, but of course, it usually gets more interest as we get close to election and people get to learn more. But the card that you see here, the Be Heard by November 3rd, vote centers are open October 31st, and ballots mailed out starting on October 5th. This was actually a message that the group decided this is what we need to use. And that's because the group is from different communities, and everything that we have for the voter has to be translated up to 13 languages. So what they did is they come up with an idea, they distill the idea and come up with a language that they think is less governmenty, that is more approachable, more community oriented. So they say that this, for example, will be the language and the text that will be more easily translated throughout all the communities, okay? And so anyways, what you see here again is something done by our community. What we also plan to do, okay, to bring more awareness is that they decided to print, because all the businesses are closed except for basically restaurants. That's where most people go at the time. We printed a bunch of posters, asking people to vote in November, to remind people to vote in November. We also printed a bunch of these cards in different languages. And the goal that the VOC members have is to create a bunch of these tags and then go to their local restaurants and drop these off at the restaurants. So the voters come in, anyone comes in, they'll see this information and forward the information to the voters and remind the voters to vote this November. Okay, so I do have a bunch of these cards in the office. I have the coasters. I have some supplies that I can share. So if anyone of you is interested, if you guys actually have anywhere where you get to meet in a small group where you can hand out these items, please reach out to me. I'll be able to provide this information to you guys, and you can share it with anyone else that you would like to. Okay, so I just want to go back to vote by mail. Okay, now vote by mail, my 2 main bullets here are the vote by mail and then in person. So the big difference, that the governor signed, right, this executive order, it does not affect Santa Clara County as much as other counties, and this is why. In March 2020, Santa Clara County, we implemented the Voters' Choice Act. And what that did okay? And what you notice is that you were used to voting at your local garage, your neighbor's garage. In March, it was different. You actually had to go to a vote center. Not only did you go to the vote center, but you went to the vote center up to 11 days earlier, which is not going to happen this time because of COVID. This time you only have to open for 4 days, okay? So we already implemented, and also Voters' Choice Act, not only did we have early voting, new voting equipment, but we also introduced already vote by mail for 100% of the county, okay? So this is not our first election in which everybody gets a vote by mail ballot. We already did that back in March 2020, and it was great, okay? March 2020, 50% turnouts, 90% of those were pretty much VBM voters, okay? So that sets us up for a real good election in November, because again, we already did this in March. The difference is, of course, COVID and all this rhetoric, all this information about, don't trust, or you cannot trust this and that process. Okay, so I am here not only to tell you what is in for November, but also to try to remind you all that in this county, we have a good, solid, robust vote by mail system. We've never had any issues. We don't have a history of voter fraud. We don't have a history of vote by mail issues. There's nothing like that happening in this county. So anything that you may hear in the news, anything that sets off alarms, it could very well be true for other locations, but not for us. So I am happy with the governor's decision, because for us, it didn't change anything. The governor's telling everyone in the state, hey, everybody's got to get a VPN ballot. Sure, for us, we've done that already. The challenge is going to be for those counties who did not have a big vote by mail system in place, okay? Now, if I go back to the November 2018 election, try and guess what was the percentage of voters in Santa Clara County that had requested to be vote by mail voters? I'll give you a few seconds. Try and guess. Okay, actually, show me fingers, like 10 fingers, 100%, 50 fingers, 50%. I mean, what do you think, Matthew? Any ideas? You want to throw a number? I can see Chip. Is that 9?
9%.
Is it 90%?
Yeah. I was going to say 10%.
Oh, no, a lot more than that, no. So November 2018, we had 80% of the voters asking to vote by mail, okay? So this was November 2018, and prior to that was already 65, 70, 75. So again, all I'm trying to tell you is that November 2018, 80% of the voters in Santa Clara County already were voting by mail. Again, we had no issues. March 2020, 100% of the voters voted by mail. I mean, we sent those out and received 50% back. No issues. For November, everybody's talking about vote by mail. So, you know what? Vote by mail for us is old news, because we were already been doing that. Okay. The biggest news for me, though, is trying to make everyone understand that in this county, we don't have any issues with vote by mail. So please trust vote by mail. We've been doing this already. Keep it going, and vote from home. That's the safest thing you can do. Okay. Now, as a reminder, every vote by mail is prepaid postage. So when you guys get these things, all you have to do is make your selections, find where you want to drop it off, drive, walk, drop it in the box, and you're done. Okay. The important thing, though, to remember that if you do want to vote in person, though, in-person voting does not start until 2 Saturdays from now, which will be October 31st. Okay. And so you'll have the early 3 days to vote. That's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And the hours are here on the second to last bullet. So early voting hours are 8 to 5. You can vote in person. You can also start on the 31st, go to an actual vote center and drop your ballot at the vote center. But if you want to drop off your ballot tomorrow or today, you can go to your neighborhood drop box, and you can find that on our website. Election day hours, I want to remind you, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay? And now please remember that we have, again, 3 + 1 days, so that's a total 4 days to vote. Please don't wait until 7 o'clock on Tuesday to vote, okay? COVID is around. Everybody's going to be, and it's going to be winter time, it's going to be dark early, everybody's going to be looking for parking. Please vote early. Everyone already gets a VPN ballot. You already should have your VPN ballot. You already have your sample ballot. You can practice how you want to vote in sample ballot. Move that, translate that into your actual ballot, and drop it at a box. Okay, so please vote safe, vote from home, and vote early. That's the most important message I would like to share with all of you, because again, this is the wrong election to go into a crowd of people trying to vote at the same time. Okay. So I just want to show you here what we have. So these are actual drop boxes that we have, all right? A week ago, you heard in the news that, oh, some counties are getting boxes, that people are dropping boxes. Well, you know what? We've been really good, or our partners have been really good. We've had, people asking us, hey, I have 2 boxes. They look different. Why is that? Well, that's just because we use them at different times, and we didn't order 100 at any one time, so they came separately. But these are the official boxes. So at some sites, you're only going to see 1 box. At 22 of these 100 sites, you will see 2 drop boxes, okay? And we manage these boxes. Sometimes what they've done is actually just chain to somewhere, to a pole. There's security in place, and we keep them there. And they're also in a place where we have, usually it's like a city hall, a school, a library, right outside. There's cameras, there's plenty of security that should be able to tell us what's going on, okay? But we do maintain these, we go get them. What you also see on top of these boxes, when you look at the top of the box, you'll see a clear plastic bag with extra envelopes. Let's say let's say you spill your coffee on your actual envelope. You can actually go to these boxes, find an extra envelope, and just print your name, sign it, and print your address, and you're set to go. Okay. So again, these are the boxes, and again, 100 throughout the county. You can go to these 24/7 and drop your ballot starting already last 2 Mondays ago on the 5th of October. Okay. And this is important, everyone, because all these sites have been calling us, hey, what if someone wants to drop a box? What do we do? Well, what you do is you tell them no, and you'll report to us right away. So they will let us know that if someone's trying to bring a box. We're also asking people to please take a picture, ask who is it that's trying to bring a box, because we need to know who are these persons, all right? But then again, as far as we know, every box that we see out there is ours, and that hasn't been an issue. Now, finally, actually, this is a smart code. In fact, after this meeting, I will mail this presentation to you, Matthew, if you'd like, and Alex, so you guys can have the presentation. You can absolutely share it first with someone else. But this is the smart code that you can see on, that you can take, if you point your smartphone at this, a link will show up, and it will take you to the list that shows you where you can find the vote centers and also the drop boxes. Okay, so everything is here now. Not only, and of course, here on the side, on the right side, you see that's Alex's screenshot from an iPhone. This is our website. Okay, on our website, you can go right on the second tab where it says vote in person. Click on the official ballot drop-off and vote center sites information, and you'll find the list of all the sites where you can vote in person on the 31st and drop your ballot right now. Okay, so if there's any one thing that you guys could do to get the latest and the correct information from us is, follow our social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also Nextdoor. Actually, we send a lot of announcements via Nextdoor. Okay, and this is our website, secvotes.org. Okay, vote by mail. Now, again, this is important for you to know. I already talked about the first bullet, but the most important thing for you to know is that, again, as I said on the very first slide, your ballot must be returned by 8 o'clock to that ballot box, to that USPS box. And then whenever it is that it gets to my office, we will then process that ballot and count it if it's eligible, okay? The important thing is, again, everybody has the fear that, oh my gosh, if I don't drop it in the box, 8 o'clock is not going to count. And that is not true. If you remember, I told you already, you have up to 17 days to go on and present and for us to receive the ballots and count the ballots, okay? So please, if anyone tells you otherwise, they are wrong. The right information is, for the state of California, we can count ballots up to 17 days after the election. As a social media, as I just mentioned to you, this is what we have for our social media, okay? We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Nextdoor. Please follow our Instagram and tweets, actually, okay? Because we do provide a lot of information, especially if there's any new cases, if there's any information that people are asking, we see there's a trend, we'll send that information so everybody can be on top of the latest information and they know it's legit, it's coming from us, okay? If you hear anything else in the media about this is what's happening somewhere else, and you know that somewhere else is not in our county, please don't disregard it, but call us, ask someone that knows in our county, and we will tell you what we are doing in our county to perhaps prevent the situations from happening in Santa Clara County. Okay, we do have our social media. Okay, Tim, you can contact social media at 408 282-3008. Okay. Okay, so I want to, pretty much at the end of this presentation, but I want to remind you what we sent to every single one of you. Okay, what we sent to every single one of you is this. We already sent 2 mailers about 2 months ago, and even before then we sent another mailer. By law, I have to send these mailers to you reminding you that there's an election coming up in November, and these are the ways you can vote. First of all, you all will receive a vote by mail ballot, but if you choose to vote in person, come and vote in person. And if you want to vote in person, you don't have to wait until Tuesday. You can start voting Saturday prior to election, okay? So you guys are having this meeting on a Sunday. I think, Matthew, next time you meet, you can ask everybody, okay, the polls opened yesterday, Saturday. How many of you have already voted? Okay. And if you haven't, go with your friends, go with your family, go and vote Sunday. Up until 5 o'clock, you can vote. Okay. You have Monday to vote. Please try to avoid going into a group of people. And who knows, if you meet a super spreader or not, which I hope you don't anyways. And of course, now the state also sends you a state voter guide, okay? That state voter guide is more general. It basically tells you everything that's going to be on this election. Our county voter information guides, or bullet B, that tells you specifically what's going to be in your own ballot that you're going to be voting for in your own area where you live. Okay, so that's the difference. One tells you everything, that's the state, and when we send you something, it tells you specifically what's on your ballot type to vote for. All right, and then of course the vote by mail packets. I do want to talk a little bit about the vote centers. Okay, probably going to have some questions afterwards, but the vote centers, we do have new technology. Okay, and that is a technology that allows all of you to vote anywhere in the county. Okay, so whereas before I would have to have 110% of the ballots that I need in case there's a surge of voters or in case people make mistakes and they need a replacement ballot. I don't have to print like 1 million ballots anymore. Okay, what we do now is we print the ballot on demand as you show up ready to vote at the vote center. Okay, but if you all vote your vote by mail ballots, then guess what? You're all set. Okay, so I can definitely talk more about that after the presentation, especially if you have any questions about that. Again, this is really my last slide. I just want to say that if you need anything, please come to our vote, to our own organization, to our website. It's a great website. We have so much information. It follows the architecture that we have in the county in terms of how to display information. You can find icons for the most useful information or most wanted information, voter registration, ballot, ballot tracking, also vote centers, where to find them, drop-off locations, and a bunch of other information, okay? And if you are a voter and have any questions, you can always call 408-299-VOTE, okay? That's the best thing to do. You call them, you ask for questions. Let's say you want to verify your address if you move, perhaps, and they'll be able to tell the information and even provide you more information if you would like to re-register, okay? So, you see, that's pretty much what I have. Okay, so Matthew, I'm open for any questions any one of you may have. And again, if I don't have the answer, I'll write that down and then I'll send it to all of you so that you can share that next time you meet. Okay.
All right. You can raise their hands if they have any questions, but there are a number of questions in the chat. Do you want me to read them out or for you?
Please, Matthew, if you don't mind. I can't see all of them here. Let me see. Actually, I don't see my message. Yes, but yeah, if you please don't mind reading, because I don't see the message.
Okay, it's in the chat. But also, can you turn off or go out of screen share? That way you can switch over to grid mode and see everybody's face and see if anybody's raising their hand in the video. But while you're working on that, the first question I have is from Greg. He says he received 2 ballots in the mail, and he plans to submit the first one by mail and ignore the others. And is wondering, does it matter which one he submits?
No, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So basically, what happens is whichever one. So both ballots, so that you know, Greg, right? Is it Greg? Greg. So it does not matter. It's whichever ballot we receive, and if it meets the qualifications, if the signature checks, everything is good, that's the one that will be counted. Okay. And so some of you may be asking, oh, why is it that I got two ballots? Okay. What happens is, and happened to a few thousand voters. Okay. When you go to the DMV, and you update anything. You update your car registration, you update your address, you update anything. The fact that you go to the DMV and you update your information, that is then resent to the vote count database in the state, okay? And so they know that what it does is triggers everything in the database to say, okay, something has been updated for Greg, please resend a ballot, okay? And all that does is, yes, you do get two ballots, but whichever ballot we receive first, that is the one that will be counted, okay? Let's say Greg forgets and sends a second ballot. Well, we get that in the mail, we get it in our box, we check, because, you know, the staff look at this, they don't know until they check on the system. They see that Greg has already voted. They say, oh, well, look, Greg's trying to vote twice. What's going on here? Okay. And then we'll do an investigation. We'll find out that, look, Greg was sent to a duplicate because, oh, he updated something in DMV early the year or months ago, and this is why I got a duplicate ballot. Okay. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe just forgot about it. And then if there's a need to investigate, the DA will then call Greg and say, hey, Greg, what happened? You know, how come you tried to send your ballot twice? Okay. So those are just some of the procedures we have in place regarding duplicate ballots. But other than that, first come, first serve. You know, that's always the case in elections. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. We got a number of more questions in the chat, but I'll go over one more, and then looks like Alex and Senna has a hand up. So before we go to Alex and Senna, I have one from Cheryl that asks a bunch of stuff basically about the safety of the ballot boxes, but you know, how often are the ballot boxes in public places emptied? They could get full, and with public's enthusiasm for voting early, where are the envelopes stored, and are they being guarded?
Oh yes, yes. So those drop boxes, we start slower, but then at some point we'll pick them up on a daily basis. Okay, so we do pick them up on a daily basis, and including weekends, starting I think today, actually starting the weekends. But we'll pick them up on a daily basis. But we also keep track of how fast they get filled in. And so obviously traditionally they get filled in as we get closer to elections. So the VBM team, or the vote by mail division, they actually have a crew of staff that all they do is go around and pick up those ballots. They bring them to the office, and they're kept in the vote by mail division in a specific area, guarded overnight. So even at the end of the night when we go home, everything stays behind locked doors, everything is safe, put away, and then ready to be processed as it comes in. Okay, so that's how we process the VBM ballots.
All right. I have Alex and Senna. They should be unmuting themselves now.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I actually did the training for a poll worker, and I was impressed with the concern about sanitation. And I want to point out that you know, we have people who, you know, use the pens and cards and the security sleeves, and after they use them, they just throw them into a box, and we've got a bunch of volunteers who will pick them out of the box, sanitize them, and put them back in the stack to be used again.
Right. Thank you, Alex, for
that. I was curious, though I'm not clear on how we avoid handling the cards to activate them and then hand them to the voters.
Right. Well,
Taking care of, I may have forgotten that.
Well, the first option, of course, we hope that you wear your gloves, right? Because if you're wearing your gloves and you're constantly, you know, wiping your hands, even though you're wearing gloves, then anytime you touch one of those items, it should be clean, okay? Also, there should be one person that will be able to clean everything in a batch, so that so instead of having, for example, two or three staff cleaning up those cards, you only have one person, and then when they're done with that, they should discard their gloves and get a new set of gloves, for example. Okay, so that's the way it should be. But then again, I thank you for letting me know and reminding everyone to the length that we went through this training. The training, as I said, if you remember one of my slides earlier, we talked about the layout. everyone had to be moved apart. We had to do the same for the training this time, Alex, right? Because this time you went and you were an actual pod on your own. So we had these pods 10 by 10 in which you went to training for 2 days or 5 days, but you pretty much didn't leave that pod. We had all the necessary equipment on that pod, okay, where you could see and practice hands-on everything that you need to do for election day. So, but the question though is that all that training is for naught if you don't wear your masks and gloves and keep everything clean as much as possible and work as a team, because someone in that team of workers, all workers, will have to take on that role. And this is why we train everyone. That's what's in the manual. But then again, you're clear on the steps and asking the question. Now, when you go back, you can tell them exactly what it is. What we're doing also, Alex, is that we started setting out bulletins for all the poll workers. Now, the bulletins will have more information to remind every one of you of what to do. So I'll remind the training team to include more reminders about making sure that the greeter and the person in charge of the PPE will go around routinely cleaning the items. Okay, so that's it.
That includes the touchscreen voting.
Oh yes, yes. And the touchscreens we have special wipes that the alcohol content is lower, just so that we don't damage anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I got more questions in the chat. Another one from Cheryl, who's wondering, when do you start opening the ballots sent by mail, and how many people are counting them?
Sure. So something started making a lot of noise. So Cheryl, so what happens is, let's say you mailed it in, and I picked up your VBM ballot. When we get all the ballots in the office, the first thing we do is signature verification, okay? Signature verification is we actually have to go in and make sure that your signatures match what we have on your record or are very similar to what you have in your record. Everything matches, it's all good. What we do is we then open and we remove the ballots, and then we get them ready for counting. So basically what we do is we check the signature matches, we open the envelope, remove the ballot, and put them on a pile ready to go. And so these are the piles of ballots that we'll have ready to go when election night comes at 8 o'clock, okay? So the results that you all see at 8 o'clock when you go to our website, all those results are the early ballots of everyone that voted early. And that's another reason for all of you to vote early. If you wait until 8 o'clock at night, do not expect to get all the ballots counted by midnight, okay? We have now 1 million voters in the county, okay? For this election, all of you will receive 4 ballot cards. Some of you may have all back and front. Some of you only going to have one of the sides. So some of you actually may have 8 sides, or 7 sides. So don't wait until the last minute to make your selections. And again, that's a lot of ballots for us to count. The sooner you turn them in, the better it is for us to provide that information to all of you, okay? And so that's what happens. When you go, and we have observers all the time. So Cheryl, one day you're going to come and observe our election, ask to look at the VBM process. They'll take to the VBM. It's a sea of people. It's a sea of trays. We're going to have these foldable gates. Everything is set behind those gates and locked overnight and ready, getting counted for getting ready to be counted on election night. As I speak right now, we have staff working from 8 to 5 today, already doing that process. What they're doing is, the ones that have already been signature verified and the signatures are good, these are the staff that all they're doing is opening every envelope, removing the ballots, flattening, stacking, and getting ready to go, okay? And I'm also glad to tell you that as of Friday night, we had about 105,000 ballots already received, ready to be counted. 105,000, but that's a long way to 1 million. Okay, so please remind all of your friends to vote early. Okay.
All right. Yeah, hopefully my ballot was in that first 105 because I've sent mine in already.
Right, and actually, just as a reminder, you can actually go to a website and go under VBM, and there's a link for you to actually go to ballot tracks. It's an application. It's a service provided by the state to every county, so that you can go in and find out if your ballot was received and counted. Okay, so all these things, everyone. Voting has become so much easier for everyone, so transparent for everyone. Okay, so I don't understand what's all this tough about, do not trust voting, because it's the best thing you can do is vote, and it's safe, okay? So go onto our website. At the end of the meeting, I'll go on and I'll find the link and I'll send you here. It's called Ballot Tracks. And you basically add your phone number to it, and then what it'll do is it'll send you text messages so you can see all the information, okay?
Okay. Do you want to drop the link into the chat? Do you know how to do that?
Sure, yeah, I'll do that.
Or your website and anything else. So that makes it easier for people to click on
Absolutely.
it and go straight to it and everything.
Okay, so that's our main site.
Okay.
This one is where to find your vote center. Oops, I need to maximize this one. Just a second.
We got a few more questions.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. You know what? Let me send this link afterwards because I have to find it in here.
Okay.
I don't have a mouse. It's hard.
You definitely got us started. So that's good. I got.
Okay.
I'm gonna do one more from two for the chat,
Sure.
and then we got a couple people with their hands raised. But this one's from Tammy. How is the secrecy of mail-in ballots maintained? And then this is. I think you've already actually covered this, but when do you think the ballot counting will be finished?
Oh, everybody asks about that. It'll be finished as soon as you mail your stuff. Okay. No, not true. But anyway, so this is it. So how is the secrecy of mailing ballots maintained? Again, we receive this in the office. The first thing they do is they check the signature verification. The moment that matches, it's in, remove them and put them away. So people don't know where it is, who is voting or it's voting. They just put them away. No one's going to spend time looking at your ballots and see how you voted, okay? We have hundreds of thousands of these things, so our staff is there opening these things many at a minute, okay? Now, as for the second question, when do you think the ballot counting will be finished? I want to counteract that with another question, okay? How many days do you think we have to certify the election? How many days does it take for me to legally certify the election? Any guesses?
I don't know.
100 days, 10 days, 1 week. I give you a number already, so that'll give you a good clue.
Yeah, I thought it was around a month for some reason, but
Bingo, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what happens is we can get you the results as soon as we get the votes in, right? If you get me if all of you vote, if 100% of the county votes by mail, and everything is in our mail, everything is in our office on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, guess what? We'll go through whatever we have left to count, and we'll get the results as soon as you can. But what happens is we'll count them as they come, okay? And in fact, what Chang was asking earlier, how do you count the ballots is, well, we cannot count them, but we get them ready. So they'll be ready as they come in, and we do a cumulative count, and we post it on our website. So every day, I think at 5 o'clock, we're going to post what is the correct vote count for today by 5 o'clock, okay? So I really can't give you an idea of when it'll be finished, but by law, I know that not only do I have to count the ballots, but then I have to go back and count a bunch of other items like the provisional, the surrender, the spoiled ballots to make sure everything matches, okay? So there's a lot of work you have to do in the background to make sure that everything gets counted, and that is why we have in the state of California, we have 30 days to certify the election, okay? And so the answer for me then, Tammy, would be, or the answer for me to give you is that we have 30 days, and your results will be ready for you in 30 days, okay? But what happens, though, if someone wins by landslide, right? The moment you see a majority winner, that's pretty much it. The one thing that's going to be left to be counted to get a decision is going to be the smaller local measures that you have in your neighborhoods, water districts, school districts, and that kind of thing, okay? But it all depends. So some measures and some ballots, or some contests will be over just like that. Some may take a little bit longer to be counted, all right? But I hope I answered your question, Tammy.
Okay. Hopefully you have a few more minutes. We got a couple people with their hands up.
Sure.
So I'm going to go back to Alex and Senna.
Hey, Alex and Senna.
Hi. Just a quick question. I'm curious, how many registered voters are in Santa Clara County?
I don't know if I actually threw this out there. 2 weeks ago, we hit 1 million voters. 1 million. Back in March, we had about 960,000. So the interest went up like crazy. Okay, but the one thing I want to remind you all, it does not matter. People say, "Oh, we have to register people." Yes, you have to register voters to vote. But if they don't show up to vote, what good is that? What good is it for you to have 1 million voters if they don't show up to vote? Right?
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm buying a track car for I'm buying a specialized car, but I never go on a track. What's the point? Okay, so that is what's important, and this is why you need to remind everyone, you guys are here because you care about this, but I have to tell to the people that were not in this meeting and remind, listen, you may hear a lot of news and a lot of stuff in the news, but in this county, it's safe to vote. There's no history of otherwise, so please vote and vote early. And if you think you're at high risk for COVID or any health issues, don't go near a vote center because everybody waits to the last minute and you're going to have a crowd of people going to the vote center on election night at 7 o'clock. And that's the last thing I will do. I'm a voter, okay? So I'm voting from home, period. Doesn't matter, okay? But anyway, did that answer your question, Alex? 1 million voters.
Oh, I was kind of wondering also, how long would it take the machines to count the million votes?
So my next question, this is a good question. We in the office have these giant machines that actually look like a robot, and all they do is we feed them these huge thousands of ballots at a time, and they just go through these things and they read everything. So again, I don't know how long it would take to read, but I can tell you for sure they're going to be working 24/7 for the first 3 weeks easily. Okay, so if you can't sleep in Santa Clara County and you decide to go to Burger Drive at 3 a.m., if you want to volunteer to help us count the ballots, by all means, come over and help us because you'll be working in the auditorium and throughout the atrium. So I really don't know what to say, Alex. We'll count them as fast as we can, but it all depends on how many ballots we get. So again, if 80% of you drop your ballots before election day, guess what? We start doing the prep work before. So on election night, we start counting them and they'll go much faster, okay? So is it a good answer?
Yeah.
I really can't tell you when, but as soon as we can, but for sure before those 30 days.
It's what I can expect under the circumstances, yeah.
Right. Well, the thing is, everybody wants, I want my ballots. I want to know how people voted. Sure. But, for us, our election is not over on election night. We still have another month of doing things to make sure everything is certified and counted. Okay, so for us, it goes on. It's in our interest to also get things done. Okay. Yes.
Just one more. Do you expect any legal challenges? For that?
I hear a lot about it in the news, but I cannot speculate. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that there's been so much interest in this election. Unfortunately, most of it is really eroding the voters' confidence in the system. It's not like it's beyond a one party pushing for one or the other. It's just what you're doing really is they're eroding the trust of the people on the voting process itself, which in this county, no one should doubt what we do in the office. What we do in the office is transparent. I know, Alex, you've been helping us for many years now. There's a lot of stuff happening. We don't have the history of wherever it is people saying it's happening in other states and counties, okay? So I'm really glad you asked me to talk because I try to explain this even to my own relatives, okay? So it's natural for people to be apprehensive, but again, please, we have a good system, and I know it'll work for all of us, okay?
I am impressed with the system.
Yeah, and again, any one of you, in the future elections, if you want to help us out, sign up to help us out, and you see how the whole thing works. People only think about election the day election, but we start working on this after March because so many things happening, especially COVID. COVID just, as you can tell, is throwing a big wrench in the middle of everything else. Now, I do want to say one thing before I go. I see Chip has a question about signature on file. Right, Chip? So I can tell you more about that. Would you like to elaborate more on that question?
I asked him to unmute, so...
Oh, okay. Well,
I sign my name with the first initial and last name, and if my signature on file, if I use the full name and more, I could mismatch. I've got the short form on my driver's license. Is that your final check?
I wouldn't say it's the final, but what happens is who was talking about the duplicate ballots. Remember, anytime you change any information at the DMV, the information is automatically sent to the registrar of voters. Okay.
Does that include signature?
Correct.
Okay, so if it's on my driver's license, that's how I sign.
Correct. Yes, and so what happened is all of you, so that you know, okay, we basically keep all of your signature, all of your records. So anytime you update information, let's say, Chip, you go to my office tomorrow, and now you decided, you know what, I don't want to just write by just using my initials. I want to actually write whatever it is I want to write, okay? So we'll keep a record of all those, because as people's signature changes over time, we go through that collection of archive for your signature and determine, okay, here's a loop that is common, here's, this must be the same person. If we do have questions, though, what we do in the office, we actually mail you a letter asking you, hey, Chip, your signature is ineligible. It's ineligible. Would you please sign this affidavit and mail it back to me so I can confirm you are in fact who you say you are? Okay. So there's all these different steps that we go through. Okay. Another question that comes up all the time. Oh my gosh, there was 5,000 uncounted VBM ballots. Yeah, maybe there was 5,000 uncounted, but no one says that those got counted in the end. Okay. Because what happens in the VBM division? Let's say you forget to sign your ballot, your VBM envelope. If you forget to sign that ballot, we're not going to throw it away. What VBM does is they're going to send you a letter, say, hey, sir, ma'am, you forgot to sign your ballot. Here's the affidavit. Please sign it and return it to me. When I get that, we'll check the signature. Bam, matches, good. Count the ballot. Simple as that, okay? So even though we could have received thousands of ballots that do not get signature verified right away, either it's missing, partial, or someone spilled coffee and now we can tell, the VBM division sends out letters to all of you who missed out on this information. What happens if we don't hear from you, though, on that first letter? If you don't get that first letter back from you, what do? We send you a second letter, okay? And if then we don't hear from you, well, we've done as much as we could, okay? And then, but then again, we always have a percentage, But then again, if you think about this, 1,000 ballots out of 1 million voters, come on, that's a pretty good turnout. And then it's not like we just ignore things. We have, what we do in the office is not what we decided in the office. What we do in the office is what the Secretary of State writes on the election code. That's what every county in the state, in the country does, is follow the code. As simple as that, okay? What we try to do is make it easy and applicable and implemented to all of you to make it easier for you to vote, okay? So that's all we do. And part of that is, many years ago we started with VBM. So again, when you hear news about VBM that you can't trust, ask them, what county are you talking about? Because that's not in my county, okay? That does not happen in your county, Santa Clara. And if anyone disputes that, send them my way, because I'll tell them exactly why is it that in this county it's a robust system, okay? I hope I was helpful to all of you. I hope I provided information you had. Please, Alex, Matthew, since you're the organizers and you're the ones that I contact, if anyone has any questions, feel free to write those down, email me, and I'll be glad to provide the answers so that you can share on your forum next time you meet.
Okay, so you have to run right now?
Yeah, I can easily spare another few minutes, but beyond that, I'll definitely have to go. So any last questions you may have?
Yeah, there's 3 more people.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Their hands
see them. Yeah, go ahead.
Skip ahead because Ray had his hand up and he put it down and put it back up. So he really is next in the queue. So I want to go ahead with Ray.
Okay, Ray.
Go ahead.
Oh, I see Ray. Hi, Ray.
Hi. I have first I'd like to make a statement. I voted by mail and ballot track sent me an email that said my ballot has been received and will be counted. So okay. I think that's a good thing. I will continue to follow what they send to see where things are at.
Right.
And I had a question on how the ballots are counted. You pretty much answered it. You said you have a robot and it's counted automatically.
Right. It's not a robot. Sorry. It's not. It looks like a robot.
Okay.
I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you guys. I'll send it to Matthew and Alex, and if you please share with everybody next time. Okay.
Okay.
It's like a RoboCop kind of. It's just they designed it that way for some reason. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's obviously control software in that, and how do you ensure that that is accurate? Are there any samples pulled and counted by hand and compared how the machine counted those, or how do you validate that that machine is working correctly?
Right. So prior to every election, all the machines have to be certified. The machines itself, they go through pre-labs, so they get tested, and they have to be certified as per the regulations by the state. Okay. So everything we have has to, and if they don't meet those qualifications, then they're taken out of the system. Okay. I think that's what you were asking me about. I don't know the details on about that because it's usually something that the logistics team does. But I do know that prior to election, we have to go through all those machines and make sure that everything is following the certification set by the state. Sorry, is that what you were asking, Ray?
Pretty much. I would think that you might have a few thousand test ballots that are filled out a certain way.
Oh, yes.
You know what the counts are on those, and you feed them through the machine and see if
right.
the machine answers the same way.
Right. That's part of it. Absolutely. That's part of it. Yeah. So all those things are done. These have already been done. Okay. So that's the last step because we do it right before the election as the ballots come out so we can test, make sure everything's working fine. Yeah. So that is done. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Dana and Jerry. It looks like Jerry has a question.
Yeah, it would seem to me that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
It would seem to me that doing things vote by mail would mean less provisional ballots. I know provisional ballots, they take time. Is this right that vote by mail reduces provisional ballots?
Correct. Well, exactly. Because now we send the ballot straight to you where you live. So as long as you vote that ballot, that is the correct ballot, and that's that. Also, because now we have the new voting system, you can pretty much vote anywhere in the county. So most of the provisional ballots in the past were because, for example, Jerry, let's say you live in Palo Alto, but now you're working in Gilroy. You run out of time to get back to Palo Alto. You would have to vote provisionally in Gilroy, right? And so you would miss out on your local ballots measures for Palo Alto. Now that we print your ballot on demand, anywhere you go in the county, you're always going to get to the right ballot. So our provisional count has gone pretty much to almost zero because there's no need for provisional ballots.
Yeah, I was a poll worker once upon a time, and I remember most of the provisional ballots for people said, I can't get to my precinct in time. Can I do it here?
Right. Sorry, I have to move out of the way because I've been kicked from my spot because there's someone else coming in. Yeah, so that's the reason. Sorry. Yes, exactly. So the provisional count has dropped dramatically, and we're not. What we do have though, a few years ago, what we did is the state approved conditional voter registration. Are you guys aware of that conditional voter registration? The CVRs. So basically, we don't have as many provisional to deal with, but we do have CVRs, okay? And what the CVRs do is they pretty much, for example, when is the last day for registration? When is the last day for voter registration? It's very close.
2 weeks before?
Which will be tomorrow, the 19th, okay? So if anyone needs to register, please go register tomorrow. But let's say you missed out that deadline. What you can do is you can still go to a vote center and vote a conditional voter registration ballot. What that is pretty much is it's still a provisional ballot, but we need to make sure that this voter has not voted in a different county. And what we do in fact is we verify the database to make sure that if the voter is, for example, from San Francisco, we tell San Francisco, hey, San Francisco, the voter today came to us and voted a provisional, conditional voter ballot in Santa Clara County. So what we do is we tell San Francisco, they stop their voter registration. We register them in the Santa Clara County, and then we'll count this person's ballots. Okay. From this point on, the person is a voter of Santa Clara County. If a month from now the voter goes back to San Francisco and they try to, vote for the next election and re-register in San Francisco, then San Francisco will see that this person is in Santa Clara. So they basically do the reverse job, which is canceling it and registering this person back in San Francisco. Okay. So that's what it is. So provisional voting has gone dramatically down. Provisional voting right now only happens if someone comes and says, listen, I want to vote. And then on my computer says, but this person already mailed in a ballot. Okay. And then they say, oh, I did not mail the ballot, whatever it is, or, I demand to vote. Well, then in that case, we'll let them to vote provisionally, because this is one way for us to help out our poll workers dealing and de-escalating situation. And then they'll get to vote provisionally. In the back of the provisional ballot, there's a number that they can call us. They'll call us in the office, and then we'll deal with this person and tell them again, same thing. Listen, I see that you already voted. I cannot count this provisional ballot. Simple as that. Okay. But those are very few and rare. It's almost now, it's single digits, I think, at the moment. Yeah. Okay. But the number that we have the highest now are the CVR voters. Okay. But that's because, again, it's so easy for anyone to vote properly. Okay. If you forget to register tomorrow, you can still register to vote at the vote center, pretty much almost like same day voting. So there's all these election codes trying to get everyone to vote. And so we go through all of these steps, and yet everyone waits to vote at the last minute. So the one thing I want to tell you before I leave, try and not come and vote at a vote center at 7:30 at night, because then you're going to find a line of people. And then people call us, hey, there's a line here. Well, I'm sorry, sir, you got a line at 7 o'clock. You know, everybody wants to vote at 7 o'clock. Please, you had 3 early days to vote, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Please, next time, try and vote early. Not only that, check your mailbox. You have your VBM ballot. You can just vote from your home. Okay, so it's really people don't realize the options that we give to the voters until they actually come and help us out in the office, and they can say, "Oh my gosh, look at all these different things that still people wait or are not able to vote in time." Okay, but anyways, I want to remind you all that there's many ways to vote, and I'm also going to share this presentation with all of you, with Matthew and Alex. Feel free to share it. I also going to send a picture of that robot counting machine for Ray, so Ray can see those counting machines and see what I'm referring to. And I think you'll like to see that. And then again, any more questions, please, again, Matthew and Alex, any one of you, if you compile these questions, send them to me, and I'll answer to you as soon as I can. Okay?
All right. Sounds good. We got people clapping.
Oh, you don't have to clap. Thank you so much. But then again, yeah, thank you so much for asking me to be here, and appreciate that. We'll be doing many presentations. It's really good to see the community interested in everything that's going on, so they know and they get the information from us versus believing in what their friends are telling on Facebook. Okay, so please follow us on social media, check in with us. Okay, so thank you everyone so much, and I hope to see you in the future. Maybe post-election if you'd like to. I'll be glad to come and talk about the election itself if you want to. I'm sure I'm going to have plenty of stories to share with all of you. Okay. All right.
Yes. Thanks for talking to us tonight. It was a good presentation, and I hope you have fun at your party.
It'll be a long party. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Sunday. Have a good weekend. See you next time.
Bye now.
Good one.
Okay. Goodbye.